What's up with my APA family? It's your boy L, APA, coming through with another video. You guys already know what's up, man. We're here from the youngsters, man. Try to kick some videos, man, to, try to keep dudes out of there, man. And even the reoffenders, like I always say, man. Kind of like a precautionary thing, the deterrent. So, as you can tell by the good old caption, that thumbnail, man. 2.5 year lockdown. So I want to do this video because I know it sounds crazy, right? 2.5 years on lockdown, 33 months. That's a long time. So I went from Centinela. I did my whole shoot term in the back and the whole in C6. At the time was around 2007. Did a 15-month shoot back there, and I stayed in the back the whole time because at the time they were validating everybody. When I got to prison, before that, they had already started validating individuals. There really wasn't no SNY yards to speak of. There might have been a few of them, but nothing major like today. Like the majority is, they don't even have SNY yards anymore. They're called non-designated yards, right? So from then till now, it's evolved to the point where, the aforementioned, right? So when I got to the yard in Centinela, I started seeing dudes get snatched up for tattoos, having Aztec tattoos. That's why to this day I don't have one single Aztec tattoo, not one single one. And that's by choice, because those were validation points. So they were it started off obviously with the organization members that were validated, warehoused out there, back there the whole time. And then they just started warehousing everybody, Mexican Mafia associates, things like that, right? And I say it again because people in my comments, those that are barely running into my channel and watching my videos, talking about I shouldn't be talking about this. Okay, I understand. But I'm not speaking on something that is not already known. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will never speak on something that is not known. IGI, everybody, to the point where motherfuckers are dropping kites. There's dudes on the main line. I was on the 4-yard 180, dudes dropping kites that is still stayed on the active side, just dropping kites anonymously. You know what I'm saying? So, anywho, I'm not gonna say nothing that's not already known. Just a footnote. So, yeah. So they started validating just everybody and their mama for one reason or another. Validation points for Aztec drawings, tattoos, associating with the organization members, whatnot. Being on the Mesa, back when the Mesa system was still in place. The Mesa system hasn't been in place for a very long time now, probably over 10 years. So that's the environment in which I decided not to go that route. I was a Sureño, Sur, soldier under recognition. Does not stand for Southern United Raza, for those of you that actually know. Went to the hole, boom, eventually I made it. I went to the hole, finished my shoot term, got kicked out to C-Yard again, pending adverse transfer. So I eventually got endorsed to SADF, to New Corcoran on the 180 over there. And got there, and the funny part is that my celly, he was from Verdugo Flats. I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he's still locked up or not. I know he's still locked up. He was a lifer, but I don't know if he's still active or not. I don't want to put him out there like that. His name started with the P. That's all I'll say. Cool dude, short, stocky dude. He used to love drinking. I told a story about how we made 3 gallons of Pruno for his birthday. We babysitted that for a week straight, freaking incognito, fucking straight running fucking covert missions so that the staff wouldn't hit the cells, because he used to do wine sweeps all the fucking time, right? And on the very morning of his birthday, we finally, one of us used to stay in, eat soups for breakfast, and one of us used to go to chow, and then we used to switch up. On the morning of his birthday, he took down the batch, put it under the bed. We both decided to walk to chow, and I told him, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He's like, "Yeah, it's all good. We're good." He just did a wine sweep yesterday. Man, by the time we got back, we seen a big ass fucking 3-gallon fucking batch covered with 2 pillowcases right next to the podium. And so I already knew it was going to be his batch, right? He was so heartbroken that he came back down and actually tried to ask the cop, like, hey, it's my birthday, man. You mind if you know, you could let us slide? The cop was like, hell no. So anywho, he was heartbroken, man. I had to go chase some fucking either light or some white lining down or anything that I could get my hands on, man. We ended up coming up on something. He got twisted and got in trouble in the fucking yard for drinking on the yard. But anywho, he had warned me. That it had been a couple of years. He had came down from Sadev. He had warned me that it had been a couple of years since we got into it with the Norteños, right? With the Northerners. He knew that we were programming and whatnot. And, you know, this dude had been down 14 years at the time, give or take. About 14 years, he told me. And like I said, he's a lifer. So he knew the algorithms. He knew more or less that 2 years already programming with the Norteños, back when the guerras were still going on. There was cold periods, hot periods. He knew the hot period was coming up. So he told me, like, hey, just be on your toes. Go up there, you know, mind your own, you know, get up the camaradas, you know, just be on your toes. And so I go up there, I get there. When I got there, the blacks and the whites were on lockdown. They were going at it. They had been going at it. They'd had a couple of riots. Matter of fact, that's the reason why they took away our sodas, the plastic. But we had sodas in a plastic container, like the 24 ounce or 16 ounce, 12 ounce, whatever, the plastic sodas. These cats were just melting them down like we used to. You know, you'll melt any plastic down, anything on the 180s. You would think that everybody has a metal fucking fierro, but no, they don't. A lot of it is plastic, wood, whatever you could find to handle your business. So because of that, I remember thinking like, damn, we got no sodas down here? Shit, up here? So eventually they got off of lockdown. Well, they didn't get off of lockdown until after this happened. So we ended up kicking it off 2009, Father's Day. Ended up being dubbed the Father's Day Massacre. No disrespect on Norteños. What happened? That's what happened. I did a video on it. My very first, I told the story twice on my first channel. Got like 180 something views, almost 200,000 views. The second time I told it on this channel, didn't get that many. It was in the thousands, but not as many as that. It went viral the first time, not the second time. But the reason I say that is because for those of you that remember that video, every single block where the Norteños were at, we kicked it off with them, upper yard, lower yard, and they caught the blues. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've gotten us slipping. I'm not saying like, oh shit, we're bad or that Sureños better than them or not or whatever. In that instance, they caught the blues, and that's when the lockdown started. So there was several incidents throughout the months that happened. So let me tell you a little bit of how it feels, or what my experience is, which is a lot of homies' experiences being locked down that long. So people have asked me like, hey, what the fuck did you do in there? You know, like before this, we had done lockdowns for like 3-4 months. My longest lockdown had been 6 months. 2 weeks, 1 month, search, whatnot, right? When I first got there, we went through like 3 searches, and Corcoran was notorious for searching. So even before this lockdown, man, every search used to take 3.5 weeks, 3 weeks to a month, you know? Especially if the block guys fucking searched the block, went to the lower yard, and then decided to surprise the upper yard again, got back to a block knowing that everybody's guard was down, and then they used to find a bunch of shit. So they used to start to search all over again, you know, that type of shit. So, handcuffed everywhere you go. Basically, our day room was, because we weren't programming. Obviously, we couldn't have no day room, no yard, no nothing. Our day room was medical. Motherfuckers, I never seen so many motherfuckers fill out medical slips. We used to fill out medical slips just to go to medical, handcuffed. Chop it up with the camaradas, just chill for however. So every time they used to take all Sureños, all Norteños, I could only imagine they probably did the same thing. Not only that, but to relay messages, to send kites, do all that shit, right? So we sit there, chop it up, whatnot, handcuffed, and that was our day room. That was our day room. That was pretty much our little release. Get away from our celly. God forbid, if you had a fucked up celly and you were on lockdown, oh man, that was all bad. It was misery. And you know, we had that policy. So they had that policy that you can't go at it with the camaradas. You know, you can't fight motherfuckers. You know, if it's that serious, you go at it with fierros on the yard, preferably. You could do it in the cell, of course. But I'm just saying, like, you know, but you're gonna get caught afterwards. You know, so it better be worth it. So if you had a fucked up celly, man, you were stuck. You were stuck, man, unless you had to take it there. Now, as far as what fucked up cellies, I mean, like, dudes that are dirty, dudes that have moose swings, dudes that are trying to be bullies. So you're literally stuck. I had a cool-ass celly. Man. I told the stories before. We were slanging at the time. I had the first... Damn, for almost like 2 years. Like, almost 2 years. The rest of the time, it took maybe about 3 months. There was this paisa. He was a Guatemalteco. He was in Guatemala. Dude didn't like me because I was close to the individual that was supplying him before I got there. I didn't know that this was slanging for him. So, anyways, I got into it with them. That's a different story for another time. He actually, when we got locked down, this dude actually started. He was running other instead of paisa. He was running other. And because he was running other, they didn't put him on lockdown. But in reality, he was running with the paisa, so he was incognito, basically. He was under the radar. And he was slanging for the camarada, for my city. And I don't know, I think this dude was in trouble or something, man, because a search was coming up, and everybody was told, like, hey, search coming up. Send all your fierros to this cell. We had a stash spot. And this dude didn't do it. He got caught with the fierro. They snatched him up, and that's what gave me an opportunity to get up in there. A camarada hit me up. He's like, hey, you know, start slanging, boom, 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 and I did. So my point with that is, without giving details, you know what? I'll probably retell that story. It's been a very long time. Been a very long time. So ain't no incrimination going on. This 7 years. Statute of limitations has been up for over 10 years now. Fuck, more than 10 years. But it's just, I'm expressing just what I was going through at the time. So I was balling, man. I was balling for the next almost 2 years after that. You know, like I said, seen several incidents, unlocks, norteños going at it, us getting norteños. And then finally the norteños ended up getting us, but after I left, all you could really do is up in there is just read. What I used to do is have my routine, work out, read. I used to turn off my TV from, like, I used to watch 1 hour of news in the morning, turn off my TV around 8 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't turn it back on until 5. Honestly, like, all the good shows, prime time, used to come out at nighttime. So the morning, workout, you know, after I finished working out, I bird bath, then my celly would work out, boom, boom. By 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, that's downtime. Take a little cat nap, wake up, take a shot of coffee, bam. Dinner time comes, you eat the dinner. After you finish eating the dinner, 2 hours later, you're already fucking starving again if you don't have store. But like I said, I had it good, man. I was slanging to these indios, anybody. And then, you know what, I'm gonna do a different video on that, because indios be balling in there. They got money. They got that Indian check, you know. So eventually, I ended up dropping points. I dropped points just enough for me to go down to Pleasant Valley. So I didn't know I was going to Pleasant Valley, right? I got an endorsement. I see my counselor and put me up for CSR, all that. And I see my counselor, and they put me up. I asked for Centinela or Ironwood. I really wanted to go to Ironwood, a level 3 over there. That's the 2 prisons they put me up for. A level 3 Centinela, level 3 Ironwood. I had already been to a level 4. I had already been to a level 4 in Centinela. Forgive the music. This dude's crazy. You guys don't even, I have no idea where I'm at right now. It's a culture shock where I'm at. So, so I'm waiting, excited, whatever. My celly's a lifer. He had came from High Desert. He did 7 years in High Desert, did 3 years in Corcoran shoot. They put him in my cell, which I'm glad I had that celly, man. One of the best cellies I've ever had. So he's like, man, good shit, bro. You're gonna go to Disneyland, you know, not gonna be on lockdown, you're gonna be programming, you know, you're gonna have a good time, bro. Like, you know, like, hey, get at my people, get on the phone, bam, whatever. I was like, hell yeah, bro, I got you, don't trip. Finally, Transpac, right? Transpac's when they give you your bag, you pack up your shit, they take it, usually on a Friday, and then you get transferred on a Monday. You don't get transferred during the weekend. So you're in the cell without nothing for a few days over the weekend before you get transferred. I mean, some people do get transferred during the week. I never really experienced that, but I know that's happened before. So when I left, we're handcuffed, shackled up, chained, whatever. We're all getting transferred. And when we get to the bus, man, apparently I got thrown on the bus just like everybody else that wasn't endorsed. I wasn't endorsed to anywhere. I got put up for 2 prisons, but I didn't have an endorsement. The difference between being recommended to 2 different prisons is different from being endorsed. When you're endorsed, that means that's the prison that already accepted you, and that's where you're gonna go. You know, sometimes they override it based on capacity, whatever, but that doesn't happen that often. So I got to the bus, and everybody was asking, hey, where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? So I was like, fuck, I'll ask too, you know, like, hey, where am I going? Pleasant Valley. I was like, Pleasant Valley? What the fuck? The last thing I had heard about Pleasant Valley was my homeboy Flaco from my neighborhood. He was the last time I had heard anybody being there was my homeboy in 2002 or some shit like that. So I was like, damn, I know they had the Bulldogs there. And as far as I'm concerned, the Bulldogs were on site. You know, they had a permanent green light based on, you know, the whole history and all that. So, yeah, I get there to Pleasant Valley. I had heard that between 2002 and this was about 10, 11 years later, that they had taken the dudes out from the yard, whatever. They had their own yard. I keep hearing rumors, right? Everybody on the bus, it was like, hey, what the fuck's going on with this yard or this yard, whatever. I get there, they put us in a cage, boom, an R&R. We get to an R&R, put us in a cage, and we're just chilling there. It takes about 2-3 hours for us to get, you know, orientation, you know, medical, all that bullshit, right? So finally, B yard. It was about 4 of us, I think. It was 4 of us. I can't remember if, I don't even remember who went with me. If it was a homie, a black, or an Asian, or I honestly don't remember. But it was about 4 of us. So when we come to the gate, they start calling our names. They do the checklist. All our names are called. Give us the last 2 of our CDC number. And when he finished doing the checklist, he's like, turn around. You guys are on lockdown. So I was like, what the fuck? So I went from a 20, at the time I had been locked down 21 months in SADF in New Corcoran. 21 months. They ended up getting off lockdown, not even a month later, because there was, like I said, an incident happened. Actually, earlier I said it happened right after I left, but no, my bad. It happened literally while I was still there. And what the warden was saying basically was, it was 6 norteños against 2 sureños, right? They did an unlock of 40-year-olds and 40-year-olds and up type shit. So there was only 6. There were 6 norteños that were 40 years old, and only 2 sureños that were 40 years old type shit. So, because the 2 sureños rushed the norteños, they try to say that even though they were the victims in numbers and you know, in violence, that they were the aggressors because they rushed them. And my point with that is that anybody that was the aggressor rushing, they were keeping them on lockdown type shit. So we were in limbo. When I left, that's what was happening. So I was like, fuck, we're gonna stay on lockdown. Hell no. When I got to R&R, like I said, hey, you guys are on lockdown, handcuff up, boom, we went to the yard. I was there, boom. When I got there, they had been on lockdown for like about 12, 14 months, somewhere around there, because they were going at it with the Bulldogs. The Norteños there too were on lockdown for X amount of time because they were rushing the Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs on that yard were not rushing the Norteños, and they weren't rushing us. They weren't even using weapons. Every time there was an unlock for the last 14 months, the Bulldogs were waiting for the Sureños or the Norteños to rush them, because the same thing, the warden has said that whoever was the aggressor, whoever rushes first, is going to stay on lockdown. So they took up the strategy of not being aggressors. And this tripped me out because everywhere I had already been, I was with the Bulldogs. That was my first shoot. Like a long shoot, but that was my first time in the hole in Wasco on D-Yard. Got into it with the Bulldogs. You know what I'm saying? Rushed them in the shower. I actually told a story. I'm going to retell it. I don't think I've even retold that story. So I was like, man, this is some bullshit. About a month later, after I'm there, I get situated. I'm locked down. It's like, fucking, it is what it is. At this point, what I'm feeling in my heart, I'm like, fuck, dude. 21 months, 22 months, going on 22 months. I'm like, damn, bro. Like, could you guys imagine being somebody locking you in your restroom, the size of your restroom, you know what I'm saying, with a little TV and your basic hygiene and whatnot? You can't go to the store. You know, the only thing you have is what they feed you is bullshit for that amount of time. You know, like it's amazing and crazy the type of shit that the human mind could adapt to. That's my point. I adapted to it. But at that point, I started getting like, you know, it's one thing being in the shoe warehouse for decades, right? And it's another thing when you're on lockdown like that, you don't go to yard. You know what I'm saying? You don't go to yard. You don't even cage yard or nothing. You don't go out there and commiserate and commingle with the camaradas or nothing. You're in the fucking cage. Like I said, the only time you go is to medical, and there's only so many medical slips you could put in. You know what I'm saying? But you're still handcuffed. So, about a month later, a Norteño comes. I seen a Norteño come. I didn't know he was a Norteño, but he walks in the front. I see him in the podium, and he had a TV. The TV had red tape. It had red tape. And that's how I knew that most likely this cat came from New Corcoran, SADF. Because at the time, the placas came around during the lockdown, and they put this red security tape on our TVs so that we wouldn't open up the TVs and hide shit in there. So when he walked in with the little cart in his property, his TV had that little red tape. So they ended up putting this dude literally right directly above me. So I got up in the van like, hey, excuse me, on the van. Hey, what's up, my boy? What's your name? This and that, blah, blah, bam. Introduced myself. And he was the Norteño. And he ended up telling me, after I asked him, that, yeah, man, we got off lockdown. We got off lockdown literally like within a couple of weeks after I left. And in my mind, I was like, fuck. You know, like I could have fucking been programming, had some yard. I don't give a fuck if I was on a level 4 180. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I would have known that, I would do some shit to jack up my points. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it stay there. But that was the desperation and the type of shit that, you know, being on lockdown that long goes. And, you know, I could have this, it's 23 minutes on this video. I went through a lot of shit there. Even there, man, one of my cellies ended up checking in. You know, regardless of my status, like, this is a long time ago. You know, this is when SNY yards were very few. By the time I left to the side, man, it was a whole different story, different environment. The game was over, whatnot. But yeah, it was a resident from Whittier. He had actually came from SADF on the level 2. He got involved in the riots as well. But he could not handle the lockdown, man. He was stressing me out, talking about he needed to talk to his people, phone calls. And we were literally there indeterminately, you know, especially with the Bulldogs. But eventually, to end the video, we ended up getting off lockdown. We started hearing word that we're going to program with the Bulldogs, you know. And I guess the homies that had the yard, right, I guess there was really no señor there at the time. There was nobody there that had contact with the señor because of the lockdown. There was no communication, whatnot. But by this time, I guess somebody had contact. And come to find out, the señor that had put these dudes on permanent green light passed away. And that pretty much opened up the door for another señor to basically do a peace treaty with these cats so that they can make money on the yard. But we didn't believe it at first. We didn't believe it. So me and my cellie, I had a different cellie at the time. We went out there strapped up when they let us off. 1 block went off, 2 block went out. I'm not off. Went out, 2 block went out, 3 block went out. And that's where I was at. So by the time we went out, there was a bunch of bulldogs out there, a bunch of homies. And keep in mind, I told you a story that in between, I had an unlock. I went to the back and everything, but they kicked us out because we weren't the aggressors. We're the aggressors. But I got in a riot with the bulldogs, man. Like 60 motherfuckers against 2. It's a whole different thing. I'll tell the story later. For those of you that remember, you guys heard me say it the first time. But there's just a lot to unpack in one video. But my point with this video was a 2.5-year lockdown. And it finally ended because a senor had to pass away. And that's when the bulldogs first got off of lockdown. Off of the green light, you know. Appreciate you guys tapping in, man. This is just reminding me of some videos that I gotta do. Leave some comments in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. And as I always say, youngsters, man, this is the type of shit that you guys do not want to get involved with. Love you guys for tapping in. Hit the like button if you liked it. God bless. I'm out.